Hey Jen, welcome back.
Welcome back for
Hey
me.
everybody. I'm back again. Jen Uchin came back, and no, she didn't have COVID. She's fine. She did have COVID though earlier last year.
2020. 2021 is a new year.
But 2021 is the new year. It's a new time. It's time to celebrate. Things are changing. We can feel the wind changing
In a positive way.
in a very positive way, hopefully.
And we'll see if esports changes. Is it going to keep growing?
Well,
Will it decline?
that's
What's
what
up
I
with
do.
LAN centers?
That's what I mentioned. That's what I labeled this podcast as "Let's Get to It" on
Let's get to
2021
it.
Gaming and Esports. What is going on? There's a lot of promise, I guess, in the world of esports and in video gaming today. I'm working on a lot of projects. I can tell you tomorrow I have meetings all day long. So there's a lot happening in the space. It's quite an exciting time.
Yeah.
And
Anything you can talk about?
Not really.
That's even more exciting. Nobody wants you to be able to talk about it.
Exactly. I can't talk, or otherwise I could be shot or killed.
Shot or killed.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
So yeah, people will find out what it's all about in next coming months and stuff. I mean, as everyone's seen, they've seen my they saw the video that we're working on for the GameCon event and for our website. Everyone knows I'm doing seed funding and rounding for GameCon, trying to create a community. The whole view on it now is more of a neighborhood, is what we're building. We're building a neighborhood where you can listen to this, Jen. We're going to have a dating section.
Oh, that's actually a great idea.
So there's going to be a dating section for gamers.
That's cool. What kind of what goes on in the dating section?
Well,
it's like a speed dating thing?
It's more of a chat room where you can leave a video or, your avatar. If we will utilize that avatar space that we're doing.
I like that.
You want to meet that person through your avatar and then do a face-to-face chat. So
that's cool.
We're going to do a dating thing. We're going to do a B2B thing. So you can find people 24/7, find, someone to build a game with, so, someone that wants to, maybe an investor or something like that with a project in your video gaming, or maybe you're looking for...
Find your perfect match, whether it's in business or in love.
In love or in business, yeah, because that's what it's all about. We got to spread more love now,
Yeah.
That's the way it is. So yeah, so we're doing a lot of things. That's just tiny little crumbs of like what the bigger picture is, but it's a very, very big project.
Good.
I've spoken to some investors and they're like, "Oh, you're building an ocean." I'm like, "Yeah, basically."
Yeah.
There's a lot to gaming, and that's the one thing.
There needs to be too. Like, you can't just do one portion of it. You have to bring it all together.
Right. So that's not easy to do, because it is like, and it's like another world. It's a mirror of our real world where there's people who like various things, but it involves, everyone has the same DNA of gaming. We're all gamers and everybody likes to play video games. So, but yeah, so let's get to it today. First up, we're going to be talking about is this loot bet, and this is going back to what happened in 2020.
Yeah, so LootBet reveals their statistics on esports betting in 2020. Of course, it's only LootBet. It's not everybody. But some of the top titles by betting volume was CSGO as number 1, Dota 2 as number 2, and then League of Legends as number 3. Following are some other ones, but Valorant, even though it's newer, it is above Overwatch and Rocket League.
Yeah, I mean...
And I don't know what King of Glory is. I meant to look it up, but I don't know.
The one thing I was interested in looking at, if you could see my screen here, in the article that we're talking about, Loot.bet reveals statistics on esports betting 2020. I went down here and I was looking at the actual averages here. Average bet size, the leader was League of Legends, was 32.
I have my euros. So
yeah, 32.34 euros or 28.81 pounds. Now, as an average bet, you're not going to, I guess there's no whales, And what I mean by whales, that's a casino term or a gambling
They're not
term.
putting in a lot of money.
No, there's smaller increments of money, but you're getting probably, because of the sheer massive amounts of people who are actually betting on these things.
On our last cast of 2020, yours and mine,
Yeah.
we were talking about that, how, I forget which platform, but they were saying that there's a lot more bettors putting in smaller amounts of money, but that actually is better because it's growing it, rather than having a few people spending a lot of money. It's actually growing the betting scene in general, and I think that they said that that was a good thing, that more people are betting, but it's in smaller increments.
Yeah, but
So the bet size is what? Average bet size is like $25 American.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. What I'm seeing, and this I may be wrong, I don't know, but if the bet sizes are small, then what are the other guys that have a lot of money doing behind the scenes? In other words, the betting isn't going on with the bookies, so there could be funny business going on behind the scenes, and we've seen that in 2020, with the match fixing.
Yeah.
So is this like a glaring obvious that says, you're not getting big people to bet $100 on a match? What they're doing is taking that money and saying to some esport gamer, saying, hey, kid, I'm going to give you like $2,000 if you throw this, you throw this one match or you throw this one round, and they do it. You know what I mean? So how can we the legitimacy? I mean, we know that ESIC is doing everything they can.
So you think they're betting behind the scenes? Well, these apps and these companies, like, what is this? Like LootBet, they are like more of like an app where you're betting, so that does make sense that it would be smaller. But what you're saying is you think that the whales that you call them are actually going behind the scenes and doing more shady deals, and that's how they're making their money?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because look what happened with Call of Duty in July of 2020 or June.
What happened?
The guys, they were all doing it remote, and then the guy, he's like, oh, well, I lost my internet. Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, and they were winning. His players were winning, and then that was like a total what the hell, what's going on here?
Was that confirmed to be like a scam or like fixed betting?
It was definitely questionable. ESIC looked into it. I don't even know what happened after that, honestly, but I had no idea. Then
But
there
in
were
your
other
professional
things.
opinion, you assume that's what happened,
Right? And then in the CS:GO issue, where we had the maps that were being looked at, that from they couldn't, because of the pandemic, we weren't able to have them at local access networks, at local access centers, to be able to watch the players. And so a lot of the authenticity of a lot of the integrity of the actual matches were lost. Although it was entertaining, they definitely were lost, I think, in a lot of ways over 2020. And as I said, and I've said this before, for 2020, there was so much, you'll hear a lot of good news, but there was a lot of people, you saw a lot of mergers, a lot of other companies buying other companies. I think Amuka Esports, which is out in Canada, which is a media type company. Ben Pfefferman is the guy who was always doing what we do, but he just joined up with an esports team or league or something. So now they're like one organization. But you saw a lot of this, so like when when things aren't so great, when they're merging things.
Yeah, that's when you know.
ESL merged with DreamHack. There was a big ESL merged with DreamHack, and this is DreamHack made its bread and butter on having in-person events.
Didn't they have a lot of controversy around them with people running it and just like, I don't remember. They had a lot of they had some issues with the people running it. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, well, I mean,
a lot of publishers were pulling their titles because of it.
Right. I heard that too.
So that's probably why too. They were probably like, "Oh gosh, we're drowning. Nobody wants us anymore. Let's join up with ESL."
Yeah, but the bigger you get, the harder you fall.
Yes.
And
And it's harder to control the people. Like, it's harder to control your community
right.
and your people running things, because then they get power and certain things happen.
Well, you can rest assured that when GameCon begins to start to grow online, and then in our 6 events that we have a year, which is what is planned, everyone knows me. A lot of people know me, and it's all about the person who's running it at the head of the
Yeah, you need to be a good figurehead and runner.
And honestly, all the people that have ever come to a GameCon event, when we've thrown them in person, always come up to me and thank me, because they get that warm, fuzzy feeling that this is like a really cool community. I enjoy being here. I feel safe. And that's the experience I want to give to gamers, because that's what they're looking for. Someplace that they know that they belong and that they feel safe. I was just watching the other day a whole documentary on the Pensick games. You know what Pensick is?
No.
It's these people who dress up in medieval wear as knights and stuff,
And like joust.
They joust and they have battles and stuff. And it just reminded me that community where those people come for the last 47 years, because it started in Berkeley. And now they have these Pensick, they call them the Pensick Wars. And they have them in Pennsylvania, on the western Pennsylvania. And it's just, people go there for 2 weeks every summer and have a blast. And that's their entire vacation.
Yeah.
But that's what I want. I want people to be able to come to a GameCon and know and see their friends. I mean,
that's their yearly event.
Well, we're going to do it 6 times a year, so they'll have more than one time to do it.
Bi-monthly event.
Right, exactly. But it's to have it in to have that kind of feeling going forward. Just to know from our past, we've actually had people that have met at our events and have been married from our events.
That's beautiful.
Which is what gave me the idea of the
dating.
The dating thing. Which
one time I was at a convention and I started dating someone because I met them there.
There you go. So, but anyway, so when I wanted to jump around to I think it was this, how U.S. casinos are, okay. So we could go to the U.S., how U.S. casinos are embracing esports.
So they don't really go too much into anything new. It's kind of what we've been talking about. Of course, esports betting is on the rise during the pandemic. They mentioned Las Vegas and New Jersey. And they really just kind of talk about casinos having LAN centers for tournaments and the opportunity to reach that younger demographic. But my question really is, like, were LAN centers working pre-pandemic? And what's going to help esports grow the most post-pandemic?
It's a really great question, but if you take what Seth Shore did at the Downtown Grand, and if you take what Frank Nye did with the HyperX Esport Arena in the Luxor, in both of those cases, neither one benefited the casino in only really one way, which was food and beverage and possibly hotel stays. But
do you think they had the time to grow enough? Do you think it was maybe just too new and then people couldn't go there anymore because of the pandemic?
I think, or at least what we were told pre-pandemic, was that it was a content problem. Like, what do you throw at these places to keep people intrigued, to keep them involved, to have because you can't have a tournament every single day.
I think watch parties are the way to go. Like, this is the spot to watch it. Come hang out with your friends, get food, get drinks, play games. It's fun.
Right. So, but in order for it to translate, so this article is about how U.S. casinos are embracing esports. So the transition between what a casino needs to do and why they would do it are two different things. For example, if I have a concert and I have, like, I don't know, Beyonce or whoever at a casino at my theater. I want those people to go there, have a great time, watch the concert, come out of the concert and go on the gaming floor, drop some money on my gaming floor, gamble, also get some food and beverage, and maybe stay the night in a hotel space. That's like a casino's dream. If you drop 20 bucks on the floor, you stayed at their hotel, and you ate in their restaurants, they love you. They will kiss you this way from Sunday. Now, what happens though with the esports and gaming world? Now, gamers range between the ages of, for their demographic, they range between the age of like as young as 6 all the way up to like 45 or older. So with their sweet spot, though, is 21 to 45. So let's say, or 21 to 35. The activity of getting those people into a casino and them betting, like the problem is there's no fun games in a casino for someone from the age of 21 to 35, other than a table game. And we've talked about this before. But like if they had a Dave and Buster's type environment, which doesn't mean that they have exactly the same games as Dave and Buster's, but like if they had like when I first started working with the people at the Ocean Resort Casino in Atlantic City, you remember those guys, right? You know, what's his name? Jordan Dyfik and his dad, who sadly passed away. But they had a golf range, so you could hit a golf ball, but virtually. It was like a virtual golf range. It wasn't like a real golf range.
Yeah.
But like, you know, for those like guys that are competitive, and they're younger people, but they're somewhere in between the jocks, and they also play gaming, because that's what I mean when in the gaming world, when people think gamers, this is the problem. That's a real problem with the rest of the world, understanding what the gaming world is like. When they think gamers, they don't think that like an athlete is an actual gamer.
Yeah.
But if that athlete is 21, 22, 23, he's a gamer.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays. I mean, the NBA 2K, when they were showing the NBA 2K televised, when there were no sports, the guys that were playing were professional basketball players.
Yeah.
So you know that they do it at home. They weren't just, you know, and they were pretty good, even at the digital version.
That's their downtime. That's their fun.
That's their downtime. It's how they chill. And this is exactly what 21 to 45-year-olds do on their downtime. The casinos have not discovered that yet. I'm going to be teaching it actually where's mine?
On Thursday?
Actually Thursday I'm giving a free class on my syllabus, which I wrote. I have a lot of papers here. But on my syllabus I wrote, it's how to make money with Gen Z and millennials and esports. What does that mean? Well, that basically means that as far as and this is specifically classes geared to the casino industry. So what that means is, listen, casinos, it's not stop calling it esports. Let's get real here. What you think of esports is you think of people who play video games competitively or not competitively, but that's what they label the entire ecosystem. So that 2.7 billion gamers in the world, they think they're all competitive gamers, or they think it's all esports. That's not esports.
So they think any gaming is esports.
They think anything is esports because that's what's been in the media. It's what's been pushed. It's what's been, you know, pushed out to everything, and nobody, and they're not getting it. And that's the problem. Is they're missing that it's. They understand it's a phenomenon. They do, but they don't understand in what capacity it's a phenomenon.
Yeah.
And the way it's a phenomenon is, well, I have to find it later. But the way it's a phenomenon is that we cross the threshold somewhere, okay? Whether that be, I mean, I'm from the Gen X, but we flow from the older generation to the younger generation. So we're in both places.
Yeah.
But then you have the millennials, and then you have the Gen Zs. Somewhere along the line, they crossed a threshold, and it probably was in the early 90s. I mean, the late 90s into 2000, when gaming went online, when the arcades started to disappear, at least in the United States.
Yeah.
And then as those casinos, as those places started to disappear, people were going online, playing with their friends, and that is when it crossed over. That is when people started to really start to game because they could just do it from home. You know, games like Doom and everything, which were competitive and
Yeah.
first-person shooter games. So of course that brings the aura of esports, but gaming is something, as from what I understood from my first introduction 10 years ago when I started going to play crafting events in New York and talking to indie developers. What I realized was that the base of all of this is the creative side of the video gaming industry as a whole. That's where it all comes from. It's the concepts of like, what's the most fabulous place I can create with my mind and let people discover and walk through this place. So some people love the exploratory games, then like Zelda and Skyrim.
Yeah.
And these are games that just impact people that they would never play a competitive game. So there's all those different types, and that 2.7 billion people that play video games is the entire ecosystem. And every time a casino executive says, yeah, we got to get esports in our casino, I cringe. Why? Because
they
it's
don't
only
know.
10%. It's only 10% of the 2.7. But that's a lot of people anyway, that 10%.
Yeah.
But that's still not everybody. And
But do you think maybe that's the people that are more likely to gamble, though, because they are competitive?
Yeah, but it's not but those people have friends, and they don't always play competitive games. Those people who are the competitive players, that 10%, they play other games. They'll play Skyrim. They'll play other games. But they do like to compete. They do like to play. How do you tap into that? Well, how you tap into it? The answer is have more games on the casino floor that people will like to play.
Yeah, modern arcade.
You have a modernized, gamified arcade, because the arcade, from its purest sense, I believe, needs to be reinvented, and so does the casino floor. There's a merger of these two worlds that are coming and colliding faster than we know what to do. But actually, in my mind, they're coming faster. But in the casino executive minds, it's like, call me like in 10 years from now. But sadly enough, there was a death of a big casino mogul. I don't know if you heard about it. Sheldon Adelson. He passed away. He was about 88 years old or something like that. He ran all of Sands Casino, so the Venetian in Vegas, and a bunch of others. And he was a real, like, we're not even going to have online casino gambling. We don't want online casino gambling. He would lobby and block any political move to regulate online gambling. But now that he passed away, I think that door is going to be knocked right open. So
rest in peace to him. But isn't it interesting how the age out really does affect things?
Well, there's a lot of powerful people in the world, and these are powerful people. Like Sheldon was a very powerful person who blocked a lot of things politically that couldn't move that needle. And there are still, guys like that around that don't want to see the casino floor change. And the saddest part about it is that it's the fear that doesn't allow them to change. The risk that they don't, and it's funny because every casino that opens and every person that walks through that door, they expect that their players are going to drop in a couple bucks on their machines because they're taking a risk on a slot machine. Will the casinos take risks? No. They don't take risks. It's been too business created, and I don't mean to knock all those guys with the MBAs from Harvard that are now running all the casinos, but in the heyday, in the 70s and in the 80s, the mafia was running the casinos in Vegas and Atlantic City. But in a lot of ways, they knew what the customer wanted, and they took
They
risks.
would have changed it no matter what.
Right, and they knew
they weren't romantic about it.
Right, they weren't romantic about it. They didn't count the pennies. They would say, "Let's give the customer what they want."
Yeah.
And they would know right away. They would do it. But we're not in that age anymore. So, but anyway, so let's get to moving forward. So, why the network infrastructure is increasingly a critical piece of the gaming and esports ecosystem. And I'm leaving this last bit because I touched on it earlier, but we're going to come back to it about esports.
Yeah. Well, this article, it really highlights the internet speeds, but I chose it because it showcases what's important for a professional tournament and how the industry is growing and getting more serious in general.
Right. Bless you.
Thank you. It was like a cough. I just choked on air.
Uh-oh.
So in May of 2019, the League of Legends Mid-Season Invitational, set in Chinese Taipei and Vietnam, drew peak viewership north of 1.7 million. So people are watching esports. It is growing. It talks about the production for the event being done remote, all through local internet providers, combination, and everything went really smooth. It was a great success story, and that's how they're running it from now on. And kind of goes hand in hand with what you were talking about with the COVID tournaments and how they're not physically all together and how there is possible cheating going on because they can just disconnect and lose even if they're winning. And that's a really big issue even with LAN tournaments too. I know Epic with their Fortnite tournaments have had a lot of issues with disconnecting at tournaments and things like that.
Right. But wasn't this designed and created a lot of the work was done by Riot, and then it was broadcast though in Europe or something?
So the production was done in Riot Games' studio in Los Angeles.
Right.
So this was in Taipei and Vietnam.
Right.
But everything was run, all the entertainment and video was run through their Los Angeles studio.
Right.
And they they added graphics and edited and everything that they had to within minutes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so now Riot's handling everything for their productions through those studios. Says leaning heavily on our network infrastructure because they have their own private internet and servers and things like that. Of course.
Yeah, I bet that's not going to change after COVID.
Yeah, no way. They're going to have to. And then it also says that the largest gaming markets, it says, as you see, the gaming market continues to grow between North America and Asia. They're the two biggest markets with massive adult audiences. The network strategy and how you deliver content between those regions will start to become more visible and important. And that's something with esports in general, too. I feel like even though it is very much so a worldwide phenomenon, they are very segregated between the countries, even with, of course, gambling and things like that because of different regulations. But since it is such a worldwide ecosystem, I think it is important for everything to kind of get on the same page.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree. I think, it's funny because if the longer, we look at, how the technology is expanding and becoming, because of the necessity of COVID and having to the necessity of pivoting because of COVID. A lot more, you'll see a lot more of this. But I mean, certainly the publishers have the power to do this kinds of stuff because they're internal studios.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if that's going to limit more of the outside leagues to run their games.
Well, I think everything is getting so much more corporate too.
Right, and that's it's a good thing and it's a bad thing.
Yeah, because they've been talking about the stream quality, how like viewers are kind of used to hanging out on Twitch, and then tournaments being like a half of an hour late because of technical difficulties.
Right.
Now with things like ESPN and Fox Sports paying for it, everything's getting more high quality. It's always on time, and just everything is kind of getting more corporate in the esports ecosystem.
So you think that's bad or good?
I think it's good for the longevity of esports,
Right.
but of course I do love my more underground communities. So
Kind of stuff.
I think there's kind of a place for both of them, because you can have all like the kind of amateur tournaments still going on, and that could be a little bit more like what do they call it, boots to the ground and gritty.
Yeah.
But these
You
bigger
mean
championships, of
like
course,
our video cast?
like our video cast, yeah. Well, it's authentic.
Yeah. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
I think gamers kind of want something that's. They always say authentic is the biggest buzzword of gaming, but also, like, yeah, I do think that the League of Legends World Championship should be extraordinarily on point and high quality, because it is a huge corporation. I think that there's a place for both of them, both of those things.
Well,
I think certain things should be high quality and corporate. Yeah.
I mean, but it's just the thing. Also, a lot of people that what I have to explain to and teach when I'm teaching my class is, when I'm getting into it, it's almost as if I have to really make people understand that when it's very difficult, because, and what this will bring us to our next thing, because it's very difficult, because when they hear the word esports, which they label all of gaming, not just the not just the actual competitive part of it, the 10%, but they believe, or they see the literal sense of it all. And the literal sense of it all is because they're equating it with actual sports.
Yeah.
Because it's called esports. By calling it esports.
Yeah, people are so confused.
People get, well, the gaming world, they're not.
No,
they know. In fact, this article was written, and then I actually it came up, and I was talking to one of the guys from Vindex, one of the guys in the company Vindex on what you call it, on LinkedIn. Let me see if I can find my comments that I made on that article. But because see, it doesn't matter. Okay, see if I can find it here. Yeah. So this was the other article. It says trending in China, top broadcast executive questions if esports are really a sport, cue heated debate. And that I was sort of talking to the president and co-founder of the Esports Engine and the CXO of Vindex, Adam Pasella. So, I mean, he's like, I was in the room when we worked on the product and appealed at the investment. So he writes something like, who cares? Eyeballs are eyeballs and money is money. Labels don't do anything other than appease egos.
That's a good quote.
It was. But I said, it doesn't matter really. I agree, but those with money need to label it so that they can give it value. I don't make the rules. I just know how shallow those that invest need to identify what they are investing in or connecting in some way. It sucks, but that's the business. Now, in that way, when I said, I wasn't trying to criticize investors by saying that they were shallow. What I meant was that they're not educated to what they're really looking at.
Yeah.
And Adam came back and he said, no, it's not the business. Investment attaches to numbers, not labels, period. End of story, he said. And I replied, very true, numbers mean it all, in capital letters. I said, but just where I get this reference is that many of the NFL and NBA owners and players have invested from the outside, So for me, from being on the outside, I see that these types of investing and bending the narrative to where they work, to that's what, to where they work in those circles that they work. And that is what I see. But yes, even those folks look at numbers first and foremost. Everybody looks at the numbers. Casinos look at the numbers. They are salivating at the 2.7 billion gamers because they look at them as all prospective bettors on esports.
Yeah.
And he came back and he said, I was in the room when we worked on the product to appeal to that investment base. They wanted a way to reach a younger demographic, and they wanted to know it was a viable commercial opportunity. They didn't care what it was called, but all good, happy Sunday. And so now everyone knows out there that I work on Sunday. And then I wrote back, I have never equated esports with sports, which is true because I've said that many times on the show. And the structure it takes in the United States. In other words, it is not to be compared to the likes of real physical sports organized like FIFA, NFL, NBA, MLB, etc. Its structured and interaction with its followers and fans are very different, and esports should be looked at differently in its own organic way. Esports is its own category, a blend of sports, entertainment, and perhaps chess, if you really needed to compare it to something we know and are familiar with. But it is its own world. It is its own identity. And perhaps it should be called DGC, Digital Gaming Competitions.
I like that.
So, just call it DGC.
Sounds cool.
I mean, and it's far, because the problem is with our world is words mean something.
Yes.
Words definitely mean something. We know words mean something. Look what happened in the Capitol. Right?
Yeah.
They do. Whether you're a politician or whether you're a marketing person or whether you're a public relations person, words mean something.
Absolutely. And you can manipulate them.
Right. And you can manipulate them. And from the time that I got involved in the video gaming world in 2015 and earlier and before that and years before that, all I have seen since 2015 on, when esports really started ramping up, was a play on the words, was a play on what, and that's really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what I'm talking about. Adam's talking about, because that guy, he's from Vindex. So he had to go in and raise funding for his company. So he knows that if a investor is going to look at something, all they want to see is how much money I'm going to make in 3 years, and 5 years, and 10 years. So it's all about, it's about millions, billions, and trillions for them. It's this. It's all about that. It doesn't mean anything else. Nothing. You could basically call it, shit on a stick, and it'll still, if it makes them trillions of dollars, they're buying into it. They're going to invest in your company. They don't care. They really don't.
Yeah.
And that's where Adam's coming from. But I'm coming from the other side of it, where I'm looking at all these articles and I'm looking and reading and all these things every day. And all I see is a lot of fluff and a lot of play on words. And that's basically what the companies that are hired to do, for companies like DreamHack, for companies like ESL, for Blizzard, for Riot, they're all meant to do that. Because if they don't do that, they don't write that narrative, then there is no investment, there is no money, there is no business. And it's kind of a dichotomy. It's a kind of a yin and a yang, but sometimes it's too much yang and not enough yin. And there really needs to be a balance in this world more than any other business world, because the people that are the customers, as much as, because the more you're going to get these, Columbia MBA and Yale MBA and Harvard MBA investors into this business, the more it's going to look like a business.
Yeah.
And it won't be fun anymore. And then everyone's just going to take their controller and say, fuck this, and they'll find something else. So that's where, what you talk about. You talk about how, like, the organicness, the authenticity of it all. People like that. They feel comfortable like that.
Yeah.
especially in the gaming world. And that's something that it is not, you can't really describe it to somebody unless they experience it.
I think it can be both, though. It can be like sharp and high end, but also have like a down to earth quality to it. And that's in like the personality of the announcers and things like that.
Sure. I mean, depending. I mean, but then if the announcer's too suity and he's wearing his tie and jacket and suit and stuff, and he's too like, business oriented about it, nobody's gonna like him.
Yeah, I agree.
So, we're in a different world. This is a world that I've always waited for.
This is a blue jeans world. Actually, it's a joggers world. It's a sweatpants world.
Yeah, sweatpants and joggers world now, but
it's an $80 sweatpants world.
Exactly.
Sweatpants world.
Well, listen, I'm not spending that much money on sweatpants.
I know people in their 20s that do, and 30s.
Yeah.
If it has a cool anime character on it or one of their favorite games, they're spending $25 to, I would say, $120.
Yeah. That's possible. Yeah, I agree. I probably give, and that's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's what these people need to get to. Casinos, get into merch.
Get into merch.
Get into cool merch.
It's funny you mentioned that because my brother just today was like, you know what, Ari, maybe we should start making some merch for some of these companies.
Yeah, you need some cool merch.
My father was actually in the schmata business. He was in the clothing business. We call it the schmata business.
I didn't know that was when you said it.
Yeah, the schmata is like, it's like, they call this, what's this? Is you're wearing a schmata. That's like, it's a Yiddish term for, clothes that are not formal.
That's what you could call it. That's your brand name.
Oh, schmata?
Schmata, that's cool.
That is a good name, actually. Smart, Jen. That's a good idea. Yeah, we should call it schmata.
You have that. That's yours.
All right. Yeah.
Let it be on record.
I got to pay you for the royalties on that one. See,
you said it.
You say no, but if you were one of these Harvard MBAs, you'd be like, I better get my money on that royalty.
Yeah, I take this recording. I take this recording and sue you.
Exactly. That's what we're dealing with here, so we got to be careful.
Nah, on record, that's yours. You got it.
Thanks, Jen. That's great. You're a sweetie.
Just give me a free sweatshirt.
Of course, anything for you. Well, anyway, that does it for our show tonight. I hope everybody out there was entertained. And
happy to be back.
Happy to be back. 2021. Go. Oh, yeah. So anyway, but it was great talking to you as usual. Jen Uchin, thank you very much for the podcast. And everybody out there, stay safe. Hopefully we'll see you at some conference at some point. And keep playing those games. Take care. Bye.
Bye.